There's no real moment we can point to other than Tunguska.
The evidence is compelling that the Tunguska event was an object.
We can time travel right now, go back in
the past.
In the past.
Well,
what's one thing you'd like to see again?
When you look at these ancient languages like cuneiform, can you read that? Do you know how to read it?
Yeah, a small amount of it, yeah. Studying
How
it
does it
from
work?
books that I have bought right off of Amazon.
What if the past wasn't what we thought? What if history's hiding secrets so wild they'd make your head spin? Welcome to JRE Unexplained Mysteries That Science Can't Explain. Joe Rogan's podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, isn't just about UFC or comedy. It's a deep dive into the stuff science can't crack, from ancient gadgets to lost cities.
Now, when they found that ancient Greek computer thing, what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a geared, cogged system that allows you to track the passage of time and figure out where you are. It's some kind of navigational device. It's not fully understood.
With over 2,000 episodes by March 2025, Rogan and his guests, like historians, scientists, and even conspiracy buffs, unpack mysteries that leave us all wondering, what's really out there? Stick around, this gets weird fast. The Antikythera mechanism, ancient tech mystery. Picture this, it's 1901 and divers off a Greek island pull up a rusty lump from a shipwreck. Fast forward a century and we're calling it the Antikythera mechanism, the world's first computer, dated to 150 to 100 BCE. This thing's got gears, dials, the works, tracking planets and stars, like some Bronze Age NASA project. Joe Rogan lost it over this in episode number 1284, May 16, 2019, with Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson. This thing's like an iPhone from 2,000 years ago. How the hell did they make it? He said, totally baffled. And he's not wrong, it's insane.
So, at least 2,000 years old, 2,000 plus, and we know that there had to be more than one of these things.
Yes, you can't have something like that without a vast effort behind it.
Yeah.
Human beings were working on creating this geared and cogged machinery that reflected the patterns in the sky.
Oh, is that a recreation of it?
That's a recreation of something like it, yeah.
Graham Hancock, the British author who's all about ancient civilizations, had a theory. He thinks it's proof of lost tech from a society wiped out by some cataclysm, like pre-Ice Age smart folks we've forgotten. Randall Carlson, a geologist who geeks out on disasters, backed him up, saying it trashes the idea that tech just crawled along back then.
So such a thing is a cultural artifact which doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to have a context. It has to have a background. And again,
they're sitting there describing this corroded bronze box with 30-plus gears, and Rogan's like, wait, so who built this? No one's got a solid answer. Science says it's Greek, sure, but the precision? It's nuts. Way beyond what we thought they could do.
A so far untold backstory that we're concentrating entirely on the front story, and the backstory is missing, very largely missing from the picture. And what I've tried to do is to fill in bits of the backstory.
Today, researchers use X-rays to peek inside, and they're still scratching their heads. Was it a one-off genius? A gift from some lost culture? Rogan's all in on the mystery, tossing out wild ideas while his guests debate. It's not just a cool artifact, it's a middle finger to the history books. And if that's got you curious, wait till we flip the page to a book no one can read. What's a manuscript that stumped everyone, even AI, got to do with all this? Let's find out. The Voynich manuscript, a coded enigma. Now, imagine a book so weird it looks like it's from another planet. That's the Voynich manuscript, and Joe Rogan tackled it in episode number 2252, January 7th, 2025, with Wesley Huff. Found in 1912 by a guy named Wilfred Voynich, this 15th century text is full of funky drawings, plants that don't exist, star charts, naked ladies in tubs, and a script no one can decode. Rogan's reaction? It's like someone's trolling us from the Middle Ages and we still can't figure it out. He's not kidding. Centuries later, it's a total blank. Wesley Huff, a biblical scholar who spent years on old texts, brought it up while chatting about ancient writings. He's leaning toward it being a human-made code, maybe a cipher we've lost the key to. But here's the kicker. Even fancy AI in 2025 can't crack it. Rogan's throwing out ideas, alien language, elaborate prank. Huff's more grounded, saying it's probably just some medieval nerd flexing, but he admits it's wild how it's still a mystery. The pages are parchment, the ink's legit, and those illustrations, creepy yet beautiful, like a fever dream you can't shake. Experts have tried everything: linguistics, cryptography, even botanical analysis, nada. Rogan's hooked on the what if of it all, asking Huff if it could tie into bigger secrets. It's not just a book, it's a puzzle that dares you to solve it. And honestly, doesn't it make you wonder what else we've missed? If a manuscript can stump us this bad, what about a whole city buried in time? Let's head to Turkey for something that'll flip everything you know upside down. Göbekli Tepe, rewriting human history. Okay, let's talk about a place that makes your brain hurt, in a good way. Göbekli Tepe's this 12,000-year-old site in Turkey uncovered in the 90s with giant T-shaped pillars carved with animals, all set up in circles. Joe Rogan geeked out over it back in episode number 1284, May 16, 2019, with Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson again. This place is older than anything we thought humans could build. What else don't we know? He asked, totally floored. And yeah, it's nuts. Predates Stonehenge by thousands of years, built by people we thought were just hunting deer.
Göbekli Tepe itself was the end of a process, not the beginning of a process. It was something that marked, it was a marker. It was something that brought together the best of everything that they'd accumulated and created it in one place and left it there, finally at the end burying it, sealing it as a time capsule, which then was untouched for more than 10,000 years before Klaus Schmidt opened it up in 1996.
Hancock's all over it, saying it's proof hunter-gatherers weren't as basic as we think. He's picturing these folks hauling 20-ton stones, organizing like pros, maybe with knowledge we've lost. Carlson chimes in with his disaster angle, ties it to the Younger Dryas, a crazy climate shift around 12,000 years ago. He thinks it might be a monument to whatever wrecked their world.
Again, if we place this back, particularly within that climate zone at 11,006 to 12,000, 13,000 years ago, whatever it turns out to be, we're dealing with an extremely demanding and challenging climate, which wouldn't necessarily, to my mind, be conducive to the emergence of a settled culture that would be capable of undertaking a project on this scale.
Rogan's just sitting there sipping coffee going, "So you're telling me cavemen built a megachurch?" It's not far off. Those pillars are massive, some 20 feet tall, and the site's got layers, like they kept adding to it. Archaeologists say it's a temple, but why so big? Why so old? Science is still digging, literally, and every shovel turns up more questions. Rogan loves how it messes with the timeline, and you can see why. It's not just rocks, it's a clue something huge went down way back when. And if that's got your gears turning, wait till we hit Egypt. Ever wonder how those pyramids got so perfect? Let's roll that tape next. The Pyramids of Giza. Beyond engineering? The Pyramids of Giza, those massive stone giants in Egypt, are next level crazy. Joe Rogan dug into them in episode number 1124, June 20th, 2018, with Robert Schoch, a geologist who's not afraid to shake things up. These things are so perfect. It's like aliens dropped them off or something, Rogan said, half joking but totally serious. Built around 2500 BCE, or so we're told, they're stacked with 2.3 million blocks, some weighing 80 tons, and lined up with Orion's belt like a cosmic GPS. How? That's the million-dollar question. Schoch is big on the Sphinx, arguing water erosion means it's way older, maybe 10,000 BCE.
Geologically, that would give a very different signature on the rock. It's not floods coming up from the bottom. It's actually precipitation and rainfall runoff coming from above.
And rainfall for thousands of years?
Well, there's two aspects here. It could be thousands of years. It could be much stronger rainfall, huge flash floods, that type of thing.
He's saying the pyramids might be part of that older story, not just Pharaoh flexing. Rogan's eating it up, asking how they moved those stones without cranes. Schoch throws out ideas, lost tech, crazy engineering tricks, while admitting we don't really know. The Great Pyramids got air shafts, hidden chambers, and math that's freaky precise, pi and the golden ratio baked right in. Rogan's like, this isn't just piling rocks, man. He's right. It's mind-blowing.
And it's that core body and the walls of the enclosure, more or less the quarry around it, if you want to use that term, that show these ancient weathering, precipitation, erosional features that are incompatible with the last 5,000 years of climatic history.
Modern scans in 2025 show weird voids inside, but no one's cracked the full purpose. Tombs, star observatories, power plants. Theories fly, but the how-to's still fuzzy. Rogan and Schock bounce between awe and skepticism, painting a picture of these dusty wonders glowing under the sun, defying everything we assume about ancient people. It's not just stone, it's a mystery screaming for answers. And if Egypt's got you hooked, let's jet to Peru for some desert art that's just as wild. What's up with lines you can only see from the sky? Stick around. The Nazca Lines, signals from the past. So, we've got pyramids defying logic, but what about giant drawings you can only see from the sky? In episode 872, November 15th, 2016, Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock tackled the Nazca Lines in Peru.
I've flown over the Nazca Lines many times, but to fly over this and to see these huge earthworks on a scale of hundreds of meters sitting there, often encroached on by farms, was very...
These massive geoglyphs, think monkeys, spiders, and weird shapes, were scratched into the desert between 500 BCE and 500 CE. Rogan's mind was blown. Who builds giant art you can only see from a plane thousands of years ago? It's a fair question. Some stretch over 1,200 feet, etched into rocky soil that's barely changed since. Hancock's got this vibe that they're more than just doodles. He's suggesting shamanic rituals, maybe even signals to the heavens, pointing to their crazy precise astronomy vibes. Rogan's half joking about aliens landing strip style, but Hancock's more into a spiritual angle, lost meanings we can't grasp. The lines are made by clearing dark stones to reveal lighter ground, simple but genius. Science says they're ceremonial, tied to water or stars, but how'd they map it out without flying? No one's sure. Rogan's just vibing on the mystery, loving how it messes with your head. Today, drones give us killer views, but the why's still fuzzy. Were they calling someone or something? Hancock and Rogan leave it hanging, and that's the fun of it. Speaking of lost stuff, ever wonder about a whole city vanishing under the waves? Let's dive into a legend that's got everyone hooked. Atlantis, lost civilization or myth? All right, let's get into something epic. Atlantis. Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock went deep on this in episode number 1368. October 17, 2019. Plato wrote about this advanced island sinking 9,000 years before his time, and Hancock's all in.
Is the work of Plato, and it's in the dialogues known as the Timaeus and the Critias. And he speaks about this great civilization based upon an island.
What if Atlantis wasn't just a story, but the key to everything we've lost? Rogan asked, totally into it. Hancock's pitching it as a real deal. A civilization zapped by a flood around 12,000 years ago, tying it to stuff like Göbekli Tepe. He's pointing to underwater oddities like Japan's Yonaguni Monument, huge stone steps off the coast, maybe man-made, maybe not. Rogan's picturing this lost world, asking if science brushes it off too fast. Hancock's got this vibe that a comet or megaflood did it in, leaving scraps we're only now finding. Picture it, a bustling city, tech beyond its time, swallowed by the sea in a blink. Rogan's like, dude, that's nuts. Why don't we look harder? Hancock says we are new dives in 2025 are poking around the Med and Caribbean chasing clues. Science calls it myth, but those underwater ruins, they're real enough to make you pause. Rogan loves the what if, a thread connecting ancient mysteries. And if a city can vanish like that, what about ships and planes disappearing today? Let's head to a spot in the ocean that's pure spooky vibes, the Bermuda Triangle Vanishing Act. Now let's flip to something modern but just as freaky, the Bermuda Triangle. In episode 911, February 1st, 2017, Joe Rogan got wild with Alex Jones and Eddie Bravo. This chunk of the Atlantic between Miami, Bermuda, and San Juan swallows ships and planes like it's hungry. Rogan's skeptical but hooked. Something's weird out there, man, even if it's not aliens. Jones is yelling about electromagnetic glitches or alien bases, while Bravo's nodding like, yep, totally.
Well, they think the Bermuda Triangle is methane getting released under the floor of the ocean. And what it does is when it comes up, it kills all the buoyancy.
Take Flight 19, 5 Navy bombers vanish in 1945. No trace, no SOS. Then the rescue plane disappears too. Over 1,000 incidents pile up from schooners to jets in this 500,000 square mile zone. Rogan's asking for proof, but Jones is off on tangents about secret tech. Science says methane bubbles or rogue waves, maybe compass screwiness, but no one's nailed it. Rogan's picturing this foggy graveyard, ships drifting empty, pure Twilight Zone stuff. Recent 2025 studies found weird magnetic pulses there, but it's still a shrug. Rogan keeps it real. Could be nature, could be nuts. Either way, it's creepy as hell. And if that's got your skin crawling, how about a real-life horror flick up next? Let's trek to some snowy mountains for a tale that'll chill you to the bone. The Dyatlov Pass Incident, a chilling puzzle. Ever heard of a mystery that sounds like a slasher movie? Joe Rogan did in episode number 1361, October 3rd, 2019, with Mike Tyson and Eddie Bravo. The Dyatlov Pass Incident, 1959, Ural Mountains, 9 Soviet hikers dead in the weirdest way. It's like a horror movie, but it actually happened, Rogan said, setting the scene. They're found half naked, some with crushed chests, one missing a tongue, traces of radiation on their clothes. What the hell? Bravo's throwing out ideas, infrasound driving them nuts, secret military tests. Tyson's just soaking it in, adding a spooky woe vibe. Rogan's debating, avalanche gone wrong or something freaky? They're camping in minus 30 degrees Celsius, tents slashed from inside like they bolted in panic. Footprints lead out, then stop. No animal marks, no outsiders, just eerie silence under a snowy ridge. Recent 2025 models say a rare slab avalanche fits, but the radiation? The tongue? Still no dice. Rogan's painting this grim picture, frozen bodies in the dark, a mystery that's haunted folks for decades. Bravo's stuck on conspiracies, but Rogan's not sold on any one answer. It's raw, unsettling, and totally JRE, poking at the unknown. And if that's got you on edge, how about a blast that flattened a forest next? Let's head to Siberia for something cosmic. The Tunguska event, Cosmic Blast Mystery. Picture this, a quiet morning in Siberia, June 30th, 1908, and then, bam! A blast so massive it turns a forest into a wasteland of broken trees. That's the Tunguska event, and Joe Rogan tackled it in episode number 1284, May 16, 2019, with Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson.
The Tunguska object is estimated to be between 60 and 190 meters in diameter. So it's not a very big object. It's not a kilometer scale object. It's big, but it's not that big. It doesn't even hit the Earth. It's an airburst. It explodes in the sky above, fortunately, an uninhabited area of Siberia.
We're talking 800 square miles, 80 million trees, flattened like a giant stepped on them, no crater anywhere. Rogan's reaction sums it up. It's like the universe threw a nuke at us and walked away. He's not exaggerating. Eyewitnesses saw a fireball tear across the sky, felt heat waves 40 miles away, heard a boom that shattered windows hundreds of miles off. What hit us? Hancock and Carlson, who live for this stuff, lean hard into the meteor airburst theory. Imagine a rock, maybe 100 feet wide, screaming through the atmosphere, exploding 5 to 10 miles up, with a force of 15 megatons, way bigger than Hiroshima's atomic bomb.
You know, that was about a 15 megaton explosion. Okay, now that's equivalent to our biggest hydrogen bombs that used to be in the American arsenal.
Carlson ties it to the torrid meteor stream, this cosmic debris trail Earth plows through twice a year, peaking around late June. Perfect timing, he says, geeking out on how comets leave these ticking time bombs. Hancock's nodding along, framing it as a wake-up call, proof that space isn't messing around. Rogan's not sold on just rocks, though. He's tossing out wild cards. What if it's an alien ship blowing up? Or some secret weapon test gone wrong? That's classic JRE, science meets science fiction. The details are nuts. Locals in remote Tunguska, mostly Evenki reindeer herders, described a second sun lighting up the dawn, a shockwave knocking them off their feet, and a roar like the end of the world. Scientists later found no chunks, just pulverized dirt and weird magnetic readings that still don't fully add up. By 2025, researchers have slick models showing how an asteroid could vaporize midair, leaving no hole but plenty of chaos. Some even clock it at 20 megatons, based on new seismic data from old records. But those funky magnetic vibes, the lack of debris, it keeps the mystery simmering. Rogan's painting the scene, miles of taiga turned into a graveyard overnight, a cosmic sucker punch we're still decoding. Hancock takes it deeper, suggesting Tunguska is a modern echo of ancient impacts that might have wrecked lost civilizations. Think Younger Dryas vibes. Carlson's all about the numbers, rattling off how Earth's orbit crosses these meteor showers like a game of Russian roulette. Rogan's just vibing, loving how it flips the script on our cozy little planet. "We're sitting ducks, man," he says, half laughing, half serious. It's not just a cool story, it's a reminder of how wild space can get. And if that's got your brain buzzing, how about something a little closer to home? Let's pivot to a relic some swear is touched by the divine next. It's a whole different kind of mystery. The Shroud of Turin, sacred or hoax? Now, let's talk something sacred, or maybe not. The Shroud of Turin popped up in episode number 1658, April 20th, 2021, with Diana Walsh-Pasolka.
The Shroud of Turin is only 500 years old.
Well, not necessarily. So
Really?
Yeah. So there are certain parts of it that could have been repaired that are 500 years old. So the problem is there is a whole department.
It's this old cloth with a faint image of a guy, some say Jesus post-crucifixion. Rogan's intrigued. Is this the real deal or the ultimate ancient prank? Pasolka, a religion prof who digs into UFOs and artifacts, walks through it. 14 feet long, bloodstains, a face that's eerily 3D when scanned. Science did a carbon date in '88, pegging it to the 1300s. Medieval forgery, right? But hold up, pollen from Jerusalem, weave styles from 1st century Judea, stuff doesn't add up. Pasolka's saying it's a cultural powerhouse, real or not. Rogan's tossing out possibilities, ancient tech making the image, divine snapshot. The shroud's got burn marks from a 1532 fire, yet that image stays crisp.
I would call them, and this is just my own non-scientific term, interdimensional objects. They're objects that have characteristics of our dimension and some other dimension.
New 2025 X-ray tests hint it's older, but no one's calling it closed. Rogan's picturing this linen stretched out, a ghostly figure staring back, while Pasolka digs into its pull on people. It's less about proof, more about mystery. And if that's got you curious, how about a map that shouldn't exist? Let's wrap up with some oddball finds next. Piri Reis map and other oddities. All right, let's wrap up the weirdness with some head scratchers, starting with the Piri Reis map. Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock dug into this gem in episode number 725, January 21st, 2016.
However, these maps were largely based on much older source maps, which they copied. And we can say that for sure, because one of the famous maps is the Piri Reis map, which was created by a Turkish admiral called Piri Reis in the year 1513.
It's a 1513 map, inked on gazelle skin, showing Antarctica's coastline, way before we officially found it in 1820. How did they know what's under the ice? Rogan asked, totally thrown. Hancock's take, it's ripped from ancient sources, maybe a lost civilization that mapped the world pre-flood. South America's spot on, Africa's good, but that icy edge, it's like a time capsule from nowhere.
Actually, only a corner of his map has survived. It was originally a world map. We now just have a bit that shows the east coast of South America and North America and the west coast of Africa. Piri Reis writes in that map that it is in his own handwriting that he based it on more than 100 older source maps, some of which had come from the Library of Alexandria.
Then there's more oddball stuff they've hit on JRE. Take the Baghdad Battery from episode number 1284 with Hancock and Randall Carlson, clay jars from around 200 BCE with rods and acid traces. Could they zap electricity? Rogan's like, ancient light bulbs, dude? Science says maybe for plating metal, but it's shaky. Or the wow. Signal from episode number 1510 with Neil deGrasse Tyson, a 72-second radio burst in 1977, caught once, never again. Tyson's betting comet, but Rogan's all alien text message anyone. These little nuggets pile up fast on JRE, each one a tease of something bigger. It's not about answers, it's the what if that keeps you hooked. And if these scraps of mystery get your gears turning, let's tie it all together next. What's the big takeaway from this wild ride?